Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. The ground shakes and the high elves tremble at the approach of the Soulcrusher. We have Norskans versus high elves today. I am leading the forces of Norsca, and Aetherion is leading the high elves. This is part of the Eternal Challenger League that was hosted this past weekend. So for the Norscan army, we have Wulfric the Wanderer on horseback. So he's bringing Hunter of Champions and Seafang. We have the Soulcrusher. We also have the Fimir Balefine of Shadows with the Pendulum and Enfeebling Foe, as well as the Scroll of Shielding. We have the Fimir warriors with great weapons, and then we have a line of marauders, one of them being the Icehorn Marauders ROR unit, one unit of berserkers, and then on both flanks we have a pair of skinwolves with marauder horsemen kind of rounding off the army. So for the forces of the high elves, we have Eltharion the Grim up on his griffin, definitely bringing out the memes today. So his kit, he is bringing the Helm of Yvresse, bringing so that nice little time period where any entities are not able to die. That's for 17 seconds, and they will be unbreakable as well during that time. The Fang Sword of Eltharion, some nice armor-piercing weapon damage and physical resist, and then Apotheosis. So for the rest of the leadership kit, we have the Mage of Light with Net of Amnatok and Foz Protection, and then a Noble as well on horseback. Now for the infantry units, we just have a couple Phoenix Guard up front, 2 Spearmen on the flanks, and some Lothern Sea Guard behind them. As for cavalry, we have the Fireborn Dragon Pinches ROR and a unit of Silver Helms as well. So going a little bit more kind of elite, kind of a little bit on both sides, but let's get this show going as the armies approach one another. So these Skinwolves and Marauders are both pushing up on the far left flank and the right flank for Norskans. They will be now kind of angling a bit towards Eltharion. The Fireborn are going to be able to kind of screen out the right flank, but the left flank is only Silver Helms, so it's the combination of the Marauder Horsemen and the Skinwolves should be able to do fairly well. But the infantry rush, these Fimir warriors with great weapons are going to need to avoid the Phoenix Guard at all costs, as well as the Soulcrusher and Wulfric himself, but it's not that as important as, for example, the Soulcrusher, where the Phoenix Guard will just absolutely tear them to pieces. And now the front line are beginning to engage with just the Marauders taking that frontal engagement. Now here's actually a really nice little pick here. We have Aetherion is actually switching his Phoenix Guard and Spearman's location. So that, the way I had the attack orders planned, I was aiming for the Spearman with the Fimir Warriors, but he gets his Phoenix Guard in the right spot to deal with those threats. But a Seafang is going to be coming down, cutting right through these Spearmen, and these Lothern, they spin on a dime to avoid all the damage, but a Pendulum goes down, cutting through those Phoenix Guard, doing very well. And now the Soulcrusher is into the back line, shutting down these Lothern Sea Guard. And the Fireborn got a nice little charge through the ranks of the Phoenix Guard on the high elf left flank. And now the Marauders are about to shut down the other unit of Lothern Sea Guards. So for the rest of the engagements, the left flank for Norsca, they've been able to kind of push off the units there, but now these Skinwolves are going to be kind of trying to push off these Spearmen, rout them, but Aetherion is now diving in with the assistance of his Phoenix Guard, as these Fimir warriors with great weapons, not in the engagement that they wanted to be in, are taking quite a bit of damage, but the Skinwolves are now kind of free to engage the backline with the cavalry forces on the far left. Another Pendulum cutting through these units, and Aetherion is able to dodge fairly well. There's only clipping kind of the tail end, but most of his unit was able to get out, as a Net of Amnatok is pinning these Skinwolves in place, as the Fireborn and the Silver Helms make quick work of them, but the Soulcrusher comes in with thunderous roar, and the Fireborn are now taking a bit of damage. That Soulcrusher is just a weapon of mass destruction on the field. But otherwise, the High Elf lines are really kind of breaking down. The Spearmen have pretty much routed. Even the Phoenix Guard are very low. This unit right here is getting very close to routing, as the Femur Warriors are finally able to just get pulled out of that engagement, not taking any unnecessary damage. And another Sea Fang coming through, clipping these Lothern Sea Guard, doing some pretty good damage. But yeah, the Soulcrusher now is just kind of mopping up the back line. The cavalry forces for the High Elves are trying to keep what's left of their backline, so their 2 archer units, as safe as possible. They are able to push off these Skin Wolves, but we have the Marauders, we have Wulfric himself, and the Soulcrusher, which is no small presence at all, with another big blob over that is kind of mopping up these Phoenix Guard. But the Soulcrusher now is just landing hits onto those Silver Helms. They are not going to do well, and Eltharion comes in, but right now we have Wulfric engagement. But yeah, Pause Protection casts on Eltharion, doesn't want to be gooned by Soulcrusher and Wulfric himself. That'll give him a nice bit of extra resistance. But Soulcrusher has popped his Enrage ability, giving him plus 44% damage resistance. But yeah, Eltharion is now trying to pull out as the Spearmen get in to kind of muck things up for the Norscan forces. But the Norscans are overwhelming pretty much on all aspects of the field. The Fireborn are off chasing some Skin Wolves, so they are not close enough to help. The Noble is routing, so it is just Eltharion as really the major presence left on the field. We still have the Light Mage, but he will not be doing much in terms of melee. So Eltharion now lands in with the Soulcrusher, as the Soulcrusher just completely charges through, dealing more damage to the Silver Helms, as now the Marauders are starting to push back the Sea Guard once again, as now we also have the Marauder Horsemen coming back in, being able to screen them out even further. Yeah, right now the Mage of Light is kind of in a tough spot. Wulfric, all he needs to do is kind of swoop in and finish off that. It looks like he's doing that exactly right now. We do have Phos Protection, and the Starwood Shaft is also giving some nice magic regen, but Phos Protection is not going to save her from this mass of infantry and Wulfric himself, who is a very good duelist in his own right. Yeah, it's looking very grim indeed for the High Elves, and Eltharion is coming in to try and salvage anything, but it is going to be too little too late, and Norscans are going to charge in with the Soulcrusher, probably doing the final charge that will break Eltharion, and that will be game. So yeah, Eltharion, always a fun unit to pick, but not really worth the cost that he is at right now. Definitely he needs something. He either needs some more, like some buffs of some kind, to make him viable at his cost, or he needs a cost reduction to make him cost-effective pick. But otherwise, the Phoenix Guard, they do fairly well against Norsca, though I think Silverin Guard are probably going to be the better pick in this matchup. You'll be able to field a few more of them than you can the Phoenix Guard. And when you bring the 2 Phoenix Guard, the other flanks being just Spearmen, they're just going to break a lot faster to the Marauders, Berserkers. I mean, if you get Femur Warriors with great weapons in there, they're just going to tear them apart, even though they are anti-large material. They're just not going to be able to finish that off. And I think the Mage of Light with Phos Protection, they just didn't have anything to really follow up for that 1-2 punch. The Lothern Sea Guard were able to get shut down fairly early on, and for the Norscan side, very on point with the Pendulums. Sea Fangs did well. Those are kind of 2 very good tools to deal with the elite infantry that High Elves can bring. The Pendulum and Sea Fangs itself, that's just how you deal with either Phoenix Guard or Silverin Guard. But yeah, Soulcrusher, just a beast in of its own right. I've seen matchups with either bringing 2 mammoths, but the High Elves do have the tools that they can bring to deal with that. like bringing a Lore Metal caster, and then bringing just a bunch of archers. Overcast Plague of Rust pretty much just brings their armor down so far, and then they can just focus fire those things straight into the ground. But otherwise, it was a very fun match. Love seeing Atharion the Grim in more battles. Hopefully, CA will make him a bit more viable soon. But I hope you all enjoyed, and thanks for watching. So, have a good one.